Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast, episode 392. This is your guide to the geek side. And as always, you can subscribe to our podcasts on any podcast service you like. Find the Secret Friends Unite network feed, and you get all of our wonderful podcasts, the Secret Friends Unite, the Holocron Chronicles, the Code
Nice.
47, and also Co-op Mode, our video game podcast. And also then go and check out our YouTube page. Check out our subscribe and like and leave a comment there to see our wonderful faces. But as always, I'm your host, Todd Oxtra, joined by the wonderful Charlie Carden.
Woo! Back to reality after weeks worth of vacation. All I can say is no, thank you. Going back to the pool. No, it's a dry. We had a nice week there in Maryland, my mom's house, doing jack squat, and then we had to spend time in Ohio on the way there and the way back. So that sucked, but we're home now, so it's good.
So Charlie, you travel from one mom's home to another mom's home. It's like you live in her basement everywhere you go.
Upstairs, downstairs.
Yes.
Am I being served by myself? It's possible.
Yes. So hopefully everybody had a good Labor Day. And, we are joined this week by a new secret friend. So we are happy to present Mrs. Kelly Guentner from the Cosplay Café podcast and kellyguentner.com. And if I mispronounce your last name, you can kill me.
No, you're safe. I'm actually really impressed that you got it right.
I asked Charlie in advance. I'm like, I hope this is right. And
we'll see. I've never said her last name, so I don't know. It's like Beetlejuice. Now, don't say it one more time.
Luckily, you didn't say luckily, the G is silent.
The U is silent, so you got that right.
Very, very
good. Both ends because Germans.
Because Germans.
The Germans are going to be a theme of this podcast. And with that, Kelly, thank you once again for joining us. We love new guests. Charlie recommended you. I said, let's give this a try. It's probably going to be a lot of fun. Someone that's really into comic books. We love that. So tell people your geek origin story, kind of your elevator pitch on how you became the nerd you are today.
All right. So there's two levels to my geek origin story. There's when I secretly became a geek and when I openly became a geek. So I've been a geek almost all my life since I was like 4, and She-Ra. I discovered She-Ra, and of course He-Man, and watching those shows, I was like, yeah, that's it. But I hid it because I was like, yeah, no one's gonna like you. Why?
Aww,
I know. Actually, when I was in high school, I even got the really cool chance to pose for one of the Dungeons and Dragons Dragonlance novels.
Oh, very cool.
As Goldmoon for the re-release of Dragons of Autumn Twilight. That's like my geek cred right there.
I don't even know what that means, but I'm excited for you. I don't D&D stuff, so I got.
If you're into D&D, it's a big deal. It was a re-release, so I wasn't like the original cover model or anything, but it was still really cool. But it was also something that I didn't tell anyone about because, like,
secret shame.
Yeah, so I didn't tell anyone I was into, like, and then Buffy was my first big fandom that I actually like engaged with. But I didn't tell anyone I was into this stuff until I started dating my husband when I was like 24. And he's a total geek, and I love him for it. And he looks at me and he's like, "Why are you hiding this from people?" It's like, why are you pretending not to like things you like? Why are you pretending to be someone other than you are? And I'm like, you know what? I don't know.
Fly that flag. The flag. Yeah. Nice.
And then after we got married, I went to the Superman celebration. I'm sorry, this is a long story.
No, go ahead.
It's a great story.
It's how we get to know you.
I talk a lot. You'll find out. So I went to the Superman celebration in Metropolis, and the way I discovered Metropolis is just wild. So my sister and I, backing up a few years before I met my husband, my sister and I went on a road trip and got a little bit lost in the snow. We got off course and we stopped for gas at like 2 a.m. I'm like, we have to stop. There's this like big sign, Metropolis, home of Superman. So we stop for gas. We get a mug. Like the gas station has a tourist shop. So all we get is gas, and I get a mug that says Metropolis, home of Superman. So my husband and I get married. I'm starting to kind of like embrace my geek side, be open about it. I'm looking at this mug. I'm like, I wonder what else is in this town. Turns out it's an annual festival of people just like me. I didn't know that there were people just like me, but I knew it was an annual festival. I'm like, this looks really cool. So my sister and I go, and I'm walking down the street in normie clothes, and I see people in costume, and I look at my sister. I'm like, you can do that when it's not Halloween? Like, you can do that. You can do that. I'm like, Michelle, we need to go to the mall right now so I can put together like a closet costume. I didn't know that's what it was called, but so I was like, we need to go to the mall right now. I know we just got here, but and my sister looks at me and she's like, are you insane? I'm like, probably, but these are my people. This is what I do now. And that was 2008.
And here it was almost 15 years ago. That's wild.
And so yeah. And Charlie, as I was telling you offline, like my college roommate, who I've known since I was 19, when I started really getting into this, she kind of, she's not into geeky stuff. So she kind of looked at me and she's like, what is happening? I don't think I like this.
You're falling in with the bad crowd. It's like, you smoke it, like, when you find out your best friend in middle school is smoking by the dumpster.
You know what, though? It could be drugs. It could be drugs. But then she had kids, and they ran into a Spider-Man cosplayer at some like a hockey game or something, and her kid kept going back to the cosplayer. She's like, now I see why you do it. I'm like,
Todd, it's outside of Todd's purview. He makes fun of me. He thinks my commitment to cosplay is dumb.
No, I appreciate people who really put their craft in, like they make all their stuff, do all that stuff. The rest, the whole thing of fascination, obsession, not for me. I appreciate what people do, but it's just not my bag of tricks. But I appreciate people.
Diplomatic statement. It's okay. It's probably cheaper for you.
No, and I can go to cons and not be hot and bothered and have to wear all that stuff.
That's very true. It's the feet I can't deal with. It's footwear for me. That's the toughest part.
Yeah. So I appreciate the hobby, and I'm that's awesome that you share it. And I always say this. I tell my son, it's like, don't expect all your friends to be into everything you are, and that's totally cool. Like people for things you like about them. And, they don't have to be everything you like. So cosplay, non-cosplay, friends that get you do, that's awesome. That's why we're here to talk about all the stuff we love, because the world of geek is too big to love everything. And that's totally true. Yeah. And I'm not into cosplay. Charlie's not into video games. So those are the two things we don't talk about on this show. So that's kind of how we go.
So that's all I will talk about with the cosplay.
No, that's perfectly fine. Yes. Yeah.
I'll tell you, cosplay might find its way back into our network through a different means at some later time that we will talk about later on another road. But what we can talk about, and Todd, I think if this isn't a first, it's the first in a long time that we have a non-Marvel, non-DC comic cover to talk about this week. And tell you, this was a gem. So we have Pep from Archie Comics. This is issue 392, obviously, 60 cents, which puts it in the early 80s. But yeah, you got is that supposed to be Jughead? But he's not. Where's his hat?
No, it's Reggie. That is Reggie. Reggie is one of the he's the snobby guy that nobody likes.
Is he like, Franklin, one of the Peanuts kids that nobody paid attention to? So he's sitting there in front of a computer, and it's Archie is saying, Reggie is so obnoxious, not even the talking computers are talking to him. Oh, that doesn't make any sense in 1984. But now you can't stop Surrey from talking to him. And at the bottom, is that Reggie getting his revenge, like beating the shit out of Archie in karate? Is that supposed to be him? Again?
I couldn't tell you, but I'm more enchanted by that wonderful superhero, Marvelous Maureen, in the cover. And I have no clue who that is. But you know what? I may have to check out this comic. I don't know how. and find out her origin story and how she became the first heroine of Archie Comics. So, so Kelly, you're looking at this cover. what do you think? Is this something you'd want to buy? Are you like, what the heck were people thinking back in 1984?
I love how 80s it is. It's beautiful.
so 80s.
I love the giant computer that's like as big as Reggie. It's amazing. And
I love those knee socks that, you don't even know if, is that supposed to be Betty? I would assume. Or Betty or Veronica. Betty's the blonde and Veronica's the brunette, right?
Betty's the blonde. Yep.
Yes.
Those knee socks are cute. I would wear that outfit, okay?
Totally. I know I wouldn't wear Archie's pants that are so orange they match his macaroni and cheese orange hair.
But I appreciated like Archie comics, like they actually came to the times versus like always being in the 50s, like in the 80s.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, hey, give them credit for it.
It's like they're like the Simpsons. They were this, which is funny because of course there's that crossover, the one that the car pulls up and they throw Homer around. Don't stay out of Riverdale, and he goes, "Lousy Riverdale punks!" Shaking his fist.
Everything's connected to Riverdale. Pretty Little Liars, Sabrina, Archie, all those shows are connected to Riverdale somehow. I guess they made it a cinematic universe. Oh well,
the Riverdale averse. Well, speaking of things that can cross over the multiverse, I think it's time for us to cross the road over at Hollywood and Vine. That's right, Madam Webb, our senior news correspondent, is waiting for us with the latest news, reviews, and geriatric blues. So let's go.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's rumors and news. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. Oh, Madam Webb, I know you always are excited when we have a new guest on the show, and this week, Kelly does not disappoint. Now, I'm sure she would love to hear your hints and tips on cosplaying, because back in the day, Madam Webb had to make a costume out of old potato sack and some old nylons, and she made set the cosplay world on fire in the world, 1965, that's what she was doing. So Kelly, if you need some hints and tips, how to make something out of nothing, she's your gal.
I will hit her up for that.
I was going to say that outfit itself sounds like you could set the world on fire because it sounds incredibly flammable. Anyway, looks like we've got some news about the MCU's Thunderbolts. Now, Todd, the Thunderbolts was a comic that came out in the... it was when we were in college. It was 96, 97. And it was one of the first, at least that I can recall, big, reveal moments at the end of the first issue that like, it was right after Onslaught. All the Marvel heroes were gone. And it was like, there's a new superhero team on the scene and yada, yada, yada. And then we found out at the end of that first issue, the whole thing was, sorry for spoilers from 1997. The whole thing was a scam. They were villains. It was Baron Zemo was Citizen V. He was the leader. And I think it was like the Beetle and Giant Man and Screaming Mimi was one of them. Anyway, so this has been distilled down to combining Thunderbolts with, I think that was it the Dark Avengers that they did in like the late 2000s. Mm-hmm. It was like U.S. Agent was their Captain America and Venom was their Spider-Man.
Norman was he had the Captain America Captain America armor.
Patriot.
Yeah,
he was the comic version of the Iron Patriot. But yeah, so anyway, so the MCU, they've been kind of setting this up in bits and pieces with stuff on the Disney Plus shows. We've got John Walker is now gone from being Captain America to being the U.S. agent. Baron Zemo has been teased with this, but it looks like the squad is going to be led by Florence Pew Pew Pew. That's right, the Red Room's own. Yes. Now, does she go by Black Widow now that there's no longer a Black Widow? Because that's what this seems to indicate. But I can't remember in the comics if she was
the White Widow. I thought she was the White Widow. Yeah.
Well, she's dressed in white. Yeah.
She had a time when she was trying. So, comics. First of all, sorry, I'm going to nerd out.
Do it.
Comics Yelena is completely different from MCU Yelena, as you know. But comics Yelena had a time when she was trying to take the Black Widow mantle from Natasha. So she did have a time when she was calling herself Black Widow. But in more recent years, she calls herself White Widow.
There you go. And plus, Natasha is not dead in the comics,
right?
Currently, I would imagine she could be again, and then won't be again because that's how comics work. It's one never-ending soap opera.
Natasha is actually dead, and the current Natasha in comics is a clone.
Of course, not a life model decoy. That would make sense.
Not a
I
live
mean,
medical decoy. She's a clone who has been implanted with Natasha's memories to the point
of
that
course.
she has been recognized by certain important members of the Avengers as essentially functionally Natasha in soul. Yeah.
I was going to say and was her clone grown potentially by Norman Osborn? Because I mean, obviously, Ben Reilly's back right now. There's the whole clone thing went on again in the part of the Amazing Spider-Man I'm reading, so it's a whole thing.
No, it was a Red Room thing.
Oh, but
of course.
But anyway,
but so anyways, I could see it going either way for Yelena. She could take on the Black Widow mantle to honor Natasha. She could also take on the White Widow mantle to kind of make it her own.
Right.
Because we've seen her wearing more white. So
gotcha. So the MCU, they do name John Walker and Zemo as other members that would potentially be a part. And the Thunderbolts, I remember this now, debuted in the Incredible Hulk in 1996, which the Hulk has always been traditionally a place where stuff pops up. We got Wolverine. The first Wolverine was an Incredible Hulk tail end of issue 180.
You're technically wrong, Charlie. The Thunderbolts showed up in a special that they made an appearance in before that appearance.
Oh, is that what it says? But that's not what this article says.
Because I owned that comic, and I owned the debut of the Thunderbolts.
Did you now?
Yes, I did.
At any rate, this is presumably. I'm scrolling here to make sure that if this can actually tell us, and does not tell us when we should actually expect to end up seeing this. But
it's like 2025. It's like one of the late things. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
so this is kind of non-news. But yeah, I like this. Again, I thought the Thunderbolts was amazing when it came along. Eventually, I know Hawkeye became the leader of the team, and it sounds like he went out and came back again. But this version is kind of the string puller is Val Allegra de Fontaine, who is, of course, the magnificent Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Back in the comics, she was the right-hand lady of Nick Fury, David Hasselhoff, back in the old days. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. But anyway, this sounds great. Now, is this going to be a Disney Plus?
It's a movie. It's going to be a movie. Yeah, which makes sense because they're building up all these characters and then they can debut in a movie. I think that's a cool opportunity for them. I don't know if I need a 10 episode, long movie with these characters. So it could be a good turn. And, the way things are going at the box office, I think Disney's going to try to push a lot of things to the theater that eventually come to Disney Plus versus, give it away for free with their $8 a month. Yeah.
Why buy the cow?
Exactly. We'll see how this goes. Right. But it's a great idea. I like the fact that they're growing some villains or a team in front of your face, similar to the Avengers. I like the fact that there's going to be some flim-flam with, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and these characters will get to come back. I like this. I think it's a good approach, and it's fun, and it's a spin on the Thunderbolts, keeping it true to its word. I'm not sure if they're going to do the flim-flam to the public, though, where it's going to be like they're other people or trying to be good and then trying to put the heroes in a negative light. So that'll be cool. We'll see how it goes. Yes.
No doubt about it. All right.
Next story is a spooky one because Charlie loves that word. And the fact is we're getting a return of Henry Selick, who was the director of Night Before Christmas, James the Giant Peach, really acclaimed stop motion director, but you don't see many of those movies. So
Tom Selleck's lost brother. I've been waiting for his works to return.
Yeah, I think Leica Studios is probably the one that's really kept stop motion alive, and I love those movies. But I think his last movie was probably Coraline, is what Henry Selick did last. But we're actually getting a new Netflix film from him, and he's teaming up with Key and Peele. It's co-written by Jordan Peele, which is very cool, and it's called Wendell and Wild. And it's essentially this girl who says, everyone has demons, but mine have their own names. And this looks very cool. It looks very spooky, like we said. It's going to be, and it's going to be kind of like inner demons, but being brought to life. And I like the fact that part of the imagery is lights behind your head, which is essentially then broadcasting her own fears and demons. And I like the fact this is going to have a sense of humor. And Key and Peele, obviously known for their sense of humor, and then Jordan Peele now being known for his sense of horror. I love this mix of both, and this is going to be awesome. And when people say, why do we have Netflix? It's because you get original things like that you don't get anywhere else. So I'm all in on this movie. So when I put the story in and we made Kelly watch the trailer, Kelly, what was your impressions?
So I literally let out a gasp because I was so excited. And this is like a spiritual sequel to Nightmare Before Christmas, which is one of my all-time favorite movies. It's my favorite Halloween/Christmas movie and my favorite anytime movie. I'm super excited about this.
Yeah, so when you say that, do you buy like all the memorabilia? Do you listen to the music? Is it like a ritual to watch it every Christmas? Or Christmas. I guess you can watch it. Some people say that's the debate, right? Is it a Christmas or Halloween movie? Because some people feel it's a Christmas movie within a Halloween environment, but some people feel it's a Halloween movie with Christmas overtones.
When did it come out? Did it come out around it? Probably came out in the summertime, right? So it's like you can't even really use that as a barometer, I'm sure. That's very big with my kids, with my stepkids, April's kids. Love that movie. Grew up with it. So yeah, I will watch it in passing. I'm like,
October 13th, 1993. So an appropriate date.
I did 1993. Yeah. There you go. So that makes a Halloween movie, potentially.
So Kelly, the first question when you mention Nightmare Before Christmas, is it a Halloween movie or a Christmas movie to you?
Yes.
Perfect answer.
Okay, great. I love it.
It's an anytime movie. I literally will watch it year round. I definitely watch it both holidays. So
it's a fantastic soundtrack. Danny Elfman does I think he does a concert. So every so often where he just does that music. It's awesome.
Oh, nice. There's also a Nightmare Revisited where certain artists redo their own versions of the songs.
Yes.
That's really good. I rock out to that. We even have I've made some Nightmare Before Christmas Halloween decorations. So
nice.
We have like a life-size Jack for outside our house. And
nice.
Yeah.
Love it.
Nightmare Before Christmas is big in our household.
I highly recommend the Movies That Made Us. They did an episode of The Nightmare Before Christmas. It's
that's
fantastic. It's really good. It's on Netflix. Check it out. You'll love it. A lot of politics behind that movie. But very cool. This is going to be an exciting time. It's coming out at the end of October, this movie. It'll be very fun, and hopefully it lives up to its really just it's the talent involved. So we'll see if it happens. So let's move on to a comic book story. So I don't know how many people are aware of the character Miracleman. He essentially was originally called Marvel Man. He was a British character, and over fears of getting sued, they changed the name to Miracleman. Miracleman was a character from 1954.
What?
Go ahead, Kelly.
No, sorry, I just said cough Billy Batson. What?
Exactly. Yes, exactly. The Marvel family. Yes.
Just don't know why that is such a hotly contested word. Like Mark could just pick something else. Waffles. Man.
Everybody at different times. Marvel was timely, probably, in Foster Studios.
To be fair, Billy Batson was Captain Marvel before Marvel was Marvel.
Oh, exactly.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because Marvel timely became Marvel, which is a weird thing. And yeah, but this character, Marvel Man, he was created in 1954 in the UK as a substitute for Captain Marvel, created by Mick Anglo. And then over time, some very famous British talent, Neil Gaiman, Alan Moore, Mark Buckingham, they took on the character in the 90s and reinvented him and basically said he actually wasn't the character you thought he was. He essentially was kind of a overpowered tyrant. And this is like the comic book writer's comic. Everybody loved it. They thought it was awesome. And it fell into some problems, of course. And guess who was involved with a lawsuit with this character, Charlie?
Matt Murdock? I don't know. Who was it?
Todd McFarlane. Of
No,
course. Yes,
he's the master of disaster. That guy.
Exactly. So there were some rights, and all these things happened because Alan Moore's work and Neil Gaiman's work, they wanted to get reprinted, and they changed the name and all these things. And eventually, there was the lawsuit between Neil Gaiman and Todd McFarlane. Well, essentially, Neil Gaiman got the rights back, and so did what he do with them. He sold them to Marvel. So it's kind of gone full circle. And so this is where this is going, is the fact that it looks like we're finally going to get Miracleman in Marvel Comics being produced.
Miracle Whip Man.
Yes. So essentially number 0 is coming, and it's got Gaiman working on this along with Mark Buckingham. So some of the original core creators are involved in this. Yeah.
Did you say Lindsey Buckingham? I've been waiting for this Fleetwood Mac art for a long time. I'm impressed.
No, Mark Buckingham. So this is coming out, number 0, beautiful cover. I Terry Dodson's doing it, so this should be very cool. And I'd love to hear
Terry Dodson.
Terry Dodson's fantastic.
Like those two together. Yes. Shut up and take my money.
Yeah.
Sorry. I got way too excited right there.
No. This is great news. So, I mean, I don't know how many characters like this that have had such a, it's kind of like so under the radar, but so well beloved by like the comic, like the real people that know history and know this character. I've never read anything by it. I don't know if you can even buy. I think Marvel may have reprinted some of those core comics, which is great because we like these things coming back.
I will tell you what, it sounds like Miracleman is the comic equivalent. You said it's kind of the comics guy's comic. He's the comic book equivalent of musician Warren Zevon, because it was like all the musicians love him and stuff, but he's mired in controversy, not really a great guy. So this is kind of like, Werewolves of London. He's the comic book version.
Or a comics comic. Yeah. Like the guy that nobody actually listens to, but these other comics, they like him. So he likes being obscure.
Right.
Yeah. So
very obscure.
So this is going to be
never heard of him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this is going to be good. It looks like the artwork is really well done. Once again, great opportunity for this character to live again. And hopefully this could be kind of neat. I mean, we know we had like the Sentry, which was kind of like a version of Miracleman. So maybe Miracleman replaces Sentry, which is just a crap bag character that nobody liked.
Everyone hates
this
Sentry.
Happens. Everybody hates the Sentry. Like, it was so funny because when they pitched that character, it was like, he was a character that Stan Lee created and it was long forgotten. Nope, it's a ploy.
Nope. Right.
It's a ploy.
It's a total fake out. Like a couple of years ago, they had an Avengers character called the Voyager that it was a total fake out. And they built one of those like wonderful, horrible, one of those 19-part sagas, Todd, that you and I hate so much. Yeah. The whole thing was, it was an illusion and whatever. Anyway, more than enough to be said. Moving on, we have kind of the triumvirate. We have today, we're recording this on Tuesday. But starting on Thursday and then continuing all the way through Sunday, we have like this massive explosion of, genre news that does not include Star Wars, but it's still Disney. But it's Disney Plus Day plus D23 plus Star Trek Day, which is, of course, big for me and my geeks over on Code 47. But Todd, you and I were talking in the pre-roll, there's just so many rumors flying around right now that, either D23, they're going to announce this list of established actors that like, who are they going to be? And they got everybody all guessing. You seem to think it's a flim-flam, and I can't necessarily disagree with you that like Henry Cavill is not joining the MCU just because his name is out there.
Yeah. Marvel's cheap. That's one thing. They like to have unknowns so they can cast people in roles that don't feel like they overshadow the role itself. Mm-hmm. So you don't say, it's that guy who's playing this guy. Right. John Krasinski might be a little too much to be Mr. Fantastic. And so that's one of those type of things we're hearing all these big names. And it's like, I don't know. I think they could be like cameos and things, smaller characters. But I don't think they're going to cast these big names for these other roles because they want to be able to get them on like multi-picture deals and things like that. Yeah. And for a big star, Marvel's not going to pay someone $100 million. So the day of the getting the Robert Downey Jr. contract that was like worth $1 billion, that's not happening anymore. So I think, it's going to be lesser known names, and maybe some of these names will be involved, but I think there'll be more cameos or smaller roles like that. So yeah. So I think this could be kind of cool. And we did have all those like projects announced, but like we said, no idea who's going to be in them. There's there's things that we haven't even seen what they're going to look like. Just a logo does not make a thing. So we want to know if they're actually real. Maybe we're going to get like some footage from, there's going to be a Disney animation panel. Maybe we're going to get like the Spider-Man and X-Men animated series.
Oh yeah. X-Men 97 and was the Spider-Man freshman class or some such.
Yep. And we are going to Moon Girl has an animated series coming out that I believe Samuel L. Jackson is part of. So there's lots of things we could see that might be underwhelming to others, but I think it's perfectly fine. Telling everybody what's coming on Marvel sometimes does take the wind out of sails, because it's like the anticipation is so great and you know everything's coming. You want some surprises. So I guess we'll see this happen, but it's going to be Disney. It's going to be a lot of different properties they also own. So we could see lots of crazy things announced. There's going to be a Marvel gaming panel, or Disney gaming panel, at the event as well, which is kind of cool because a lot of folks love video games. But yeah, so this is going to be a good time. Disney Plus, obviously, I'm not sure if the Disney D23 stuff is going to be more like the movies, and Disney Plus Day will be more of the just the TV content. But I don't know.
Okay. All right. I'll ask you a question, then I'll talk about Star Trek Day. Kelly, looking at this list of it has 8 things we might see. Which one of these 8 things do you think is plausible or potentially implausible, or something that you're excited about if you're looking at this list here?
Okay, hold on. Let me.
Yeah, this is a horrible. I'm trying to look at the list, and
you can. It says click and you can get it on one page. So
okay, I have to look at that too, because I'm like I only see the one image, and it's like okay, next.
Yeah, no, I had to do it too, because it's like so it's like we hear about Deadpool 3,
Deadpool 3, Fantastic Four,
season 2 of Moon Knight got announced. Yeah,
most likely is Deadpool 3.
Yeah,
that's my money.
I get the vibe too. So, any other thoughts?
I think we're going to hear something about live action X-Men. I think they've already been laying, sprinkling those seeds pretty heavily. I think Todd's right, though, that Marvel is probably looking to cast like lesser known actors. And I think that's a good thing. I really like seeing the lesser known actors make the role their own and grow into the roles, and just like you get the actor with the talent and that presence, like,
and at the rep.
Look at what Chris Hemsworth and Tom Hiddleston did for their roles. They were completely unknown.
Now there's household names. Exactly. So it would be hard to see Henry Cavill, and even so I'd loved it because he's Superman, and maybe they drop him in as Hyperion of the Squadron Supreme. But again, maybe that could be a minor role. But casting him as Wonder Man, as much as I love, I want Wonder Man to be a big star or be a big starring character. But by sticking him with somebody, it would be like, and Brad Pitt is now Captain America. You know what I mean? It's just, if they would have gone that route, cast somebody established, you're right.
John Hamm would have been a great Wonder Man, but he's getting a little old. And once again, he's a little too well known for that role. But I think one thing we are going to get, because it's happening next month, is the Werewolf by Night has an animated special coming to Disney Plus. And we have not seen anything for that. And they've got to show it.
I don't even have any idea what you're talking about, because they haven't shown anything. All right. Very briefly, Star Trek Day. And again, this will be covered fully in our next episode of Code 47, which is out not next week, but the week after. This will be Thursday the 8th. Star Trek Day is the day that Star Trek originally aired, and it's actually on a Thursday this year, which was back in 1966. The original airing of the episode was The Man Trap back then, but this is The
Man Trap. Oh my goodness.
Is
that an app you can get now? Man Trap.
It is now. No, it was the Salt Vampire. Never mind.
Yes,
that was my nickname in college.
The Man Trap. Oh God.
Very good.
Woo! Hello. Moving on. Anyway, we have panels.
Told you guys I wouldn't be shy.
Oh my God. Okay, we have panels from the 4 programs.
I think we know what your Twitter handle is now.
Let's go in there and register her. Let's go in there and register her after we're done here.
I would own it. I would.
then I will. Then you know what? Put your money where your mouth is. When we're done here, you're going to Twitter. Okay, so. Okay, back to Star Trek Day and the Mantra.
Yes.
For the 4 shows that are on right now, Picard, Lower Decks, Prodigy, and Strange New Worlds, each one of them has a panel. It would be great, certainly, with Prodigy if we found out when the rest of the season was going to be on, because that's what we don't have anything on the slate until we get to February when Picard has season 3, the final season, is supposed to air, and it's going to be the big TNG swan song. So very excited about that. They're going to plug in a tribute to Nichelle Nichols, some behind-the-scenes stuff about Discovery, etc. Cosplay Runway. Oh, well, they didn't call me, so it's going to be nothing. And stand up with Brian Posehn. Who doesn't love Brian Posehn? That guy is nuts. So that'll be fun. And Reggie Watts from the Roots. I mean, they got some crazy stuff.
No, Reggie Watts is not with the Roots. Reggie Watts is just Comedy Bang Bang. Yeah.
Who is the guy with I'm thinking of Questlove. I have no idea why we mixed them up.
Big hair, black eyes, Charlie. Yeah.
Yes, please put a line right through that. But at any rate, what's not really obviously being teased here is like any kind of big surprise. Like Todd, we talked for a long time about the long shelved like Section 31 show with Michelle Yeoh. Nothing about that. Kind of I'm wondering, is there going to be something that's going to be kind of what's next? So that's what I would like to see out of this. But at any rate, we'll talk about this obviously quite fully on Code 47. So Todd.
Well, what's not listed here, Charlie, is, and it's probably off your radar, but what's coming is there's a Star Trek Prodigy video game coming out in October.
I know about that.
And so that might be shown. They could probably have some gameplay or something like that. And then they have the new Star Trek game. I forget what it's called, by the Telltale team that I'm really excited about. So I hope they show some of that because I think it looks really cool.
Oh, the Telltale team does good work. Their Batman game from a few years ago.
Absolutely. And Star Trek, it's perfect for Star Trek because it's not as much action adventure as it's good storytelling and science fiction. They showed some of the footage and the character models look fantastic. There's like a old Spock that is going to be really good. So
that's so cool.
Yeah, it's going to be very fun. And I think, I remember someone talked to the creators, I think, that we know, Charlie. Wasn't there somebody that knew somebody that worked on that game? I'm trying to remember. Maybe
now I'm drawing a blank. You got me.
Okay, well, we'll see. Well, we might have an inside track to get us a copy of the Prodigy game. So if we do, that would be awesome. Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
We'll work the hell out of it. Okay, all right. Last story, Todd. Wow, we're going to take the swear quotient of the boys up to a new level with this new star who's coming on season 4.
Yeah. So very quickly, Kelly, are you a fan of the boys?
It's not my cup of tea, but I
fair.
I love the cast.
Okay. That's perfect. Well, those of us who it's a little bit much, The Boys is coming back season 4, and we've already had one member of the Supernatural cast, and the showrunner is the original creator of Supernatural, Eric Kripke,
right.
And we are getting Jeffrey Dean Morgan is going to be part of The Boys cast, and this is phenomenal. I love this. Jeffrey Dean Morgan is a guy, unfortunately, I think he finally got popular at an older age. He's kind of like one of those folks that's like when he was younger. I think his first big thing was Grey's Anatomy, and then
he was
Supernatural.
Wait. Hold on. There's a little Star Trek.
Let me guess. Is there a Star Trek? Okay.
And you would never know. He was completely in alien prosthetics. Season 3 of Enterprise, he was one of the Xindi reptilians in this episode where they went back to Detroit in the year 2003. He was the main bad guy in that episode, but again, head to toe prosthetics, but it was him, which I think is awesome. But yeah, that was one of his first roles if you look at his IMDb.
6 Degrees of Star Trek.
Star Trek.
I think everybody has to be in Star Trek. It's part of, just like you're recruited. It's like a draft. So this is going to be pretty cool. I don't know if we know much about what he'll be doing. Obviously, we had Jensen Ackles was an awesome role as Soldier Boy, and the fact that they've worked together with Eric Kripke and Jeffrey D. Morgan. I think he's going to find an awesome way to utilize him and maybe play him off character where he's not like a Negan. Maybe he's more of a positive character. Hopefully, maybe not. Maybe he'll just be a horrible person like everybody else.
It is his stock. Yeah, he's going to be a Negan. So he's going to do this, and he's going to be on Manhattan with Maggie and the Walking Dead spinoff. I mean, that's a full dance card. When will the shows come together? The Boys on the zombie island of Manhattan.
I could see the Boys pull out zombies. I could really do it. I mean, they'll do anything.
Homelander just blasting his way through all those corpses. Ah!
Or Homelander
Oh.
becomes a zombie. That would be horrific.
Oh my God. Ugh. Open the
So,
portals.
so this should be
so great.
fun. Yeah. So the boys will be coming out probably
Summer?
July
Next summer?
2023. Yeah. So I cannot
Yeah.
wait. And I don't know how many seasons this show will ever have, but it's Amazon Prime's biggest show.
Yeah.
They have a new biggest show.
It was, yes, which I'll touch upon here shortly. But yes.
Yes.
Well, cool. Well, that wraps us up then, yeah?
Absolutely. So that is it for the rumors and news with Madam Webb. And now we're going to go on to our favorite geek establishment for some rumors and, for things we've been geeking out about. And that's we'll try that again. So now that we're done with the rumors and news, we're going to go on, have a good geek libation, and get our nerd on at the Geek Easy.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting at the Geek Easy, drinks are poured, and we are ready to get our nerd on. So Kelly, you're our guest, so you start.
All right. Well, I am super behind on my TV watching, so my husband and I are just now getting to The Witcher season 2.
Oh, boy. You're in for a treat. You are in for a treat.
It's so good so far.
We're sitting in the Geek Easy, drinks are poured, and we are getting our nerd on. This is take 2, folks, so this is going to be a little more accelerated, and we're going to be cutting out the fat. So, Charlie,
everybody gets one thing.
So Kelly, go ahead. Tell us what you've been geeking out about.
All right. So I'm really behind in some of my TV watching. So my husband and I are finally getting to The Witcher season 2. We're on, I think, episode 3. It's so good.
It's so good.
It's really good. And also She-Hulk. I love She-Hulk.
I think we've all watched She-Hulk. So with that,
I think
Kelly,
we're in a good place with the She-Hulk. It's crushing it. Unique, fun, and Todd, as you're fond of saying, it's something that very much, I think you even said it, like when we were talking about the trailer for the Weird Al movie that's going to come out in November. It just knows what it is and is not trying to, church it up too much, or make it too dramatic. It's just straight up, just crazy fun. And they're hitting it, not a pod. And like you said, kind of a slow start. Like we all watched first episode and I loved it, but I know Todd, you're like, oh, this is not landing. And even John was like, I'm not even going to watch it. It really looks like it's not going to land. But we're now 3 weeks in, and I think certainly the three of us are really feeling that it's really embraced what it is, and it's doing it in a way that really lands, I think.
Yeah, Kelly, do you have a favorite MCU show so far with all the ones that are out?
Oh, it's so hard to choose because they all have different personalities, but I would have to say WandaVision because it is a masterpiece. Okay, I could go on. I won't talk your ears off, but WandaVision really is underappreciated for how it is a love letter to each era of television. And they just so perfectly encapsulated each era of television while also telling a coherent, engaging, in my opinion, story. And it also really explored grief in a way that you don't really get to see in most media. And just this morally gray character that they didn't have to, they didn't fully give her a redemption arc, but they did. I don't know. I just love that. That show was so good, and it kept me guessing, and I had so much fun theorizing with other fans about every week, just come up with crazy theories. So WandaVision, even though Hawkeye also has my heart, I enjoyed a lot of them, but WandaVision.
Yeah, I think those were the two that really stood on their own, didn't need to be connected to anything, and just did some really good TV versus needing to be something other than what they were. So I appreciate that. Yeah, I think with She-Hulk, I think it's finally getting their stride. I think it's over the clunkiness of a lot of things, and it just embraced what it was, and it made me laugh several times. The twerking was the twerking. It was fine. It was. I don't think it has to be the biggest controversy in the world, which is weird because it's twerking.
Why are people so mad about it? It was just a silly, fun moment.
People are afraid of butts.
I know, like they said, man trap. If it was Deadpool, nobody would have a problem with it.
Exactly. Which, I mean, I feel like the guys getting all up in arms about that
It's
should
weird.
maybe question themselves.
Megan the Stallion. What is her mutant power? What do you think? Is she
I
a
want
mutant to see
I
what
want
she does?
the in my name. That would be fantastic.
Yes.
Todd the Grump.
Yes, there you go.
Hey,
See,
Todd, no one is stopping you.
That's
Just
true.
I'm
calling
already
yourself that.
I'm already the C3, so I just need an extra E. Easy E, Sleazy E, Sleazy C. That was my name in college. Look, not Man Trap, Sleazy C. Todd, who are you?
I guess
Buck
I'm
and
Kelly
Change.
D. Mantrap, so you know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Todd was Buck and Change. That came from his 21st birthday.
Yes.
Okay.
Long story. Yes. Too many screwdrivers that night. Oh well.
Oh my gosh.
It
Yeah,
was
so-
Jello
so
Shot
Ch-
for me on my 21st. Oh, you're saying your 25th.
21st.
21st, when I could buy alcohol for Charlie and John. Yes.
Yeah,
Because
that's
I was
right,
21
yeah.
before they were. Yeah.
Yes,
So
indeed.
yeah. So Charlie, we've all watched The Rings of Power. One episode.
Right.
You watched two. And
I
you're
did.
not a
We
big fan
watched
of
them both.
fantasy, so this is going
I
to be
would.
interesting to
And
hear your
so
take.
I came right out and say, I don't know what's going on. I'm not going to know what's going on, but I am here for it because it's gorgeous. The music is by Bear McCreary. He is the masterpiece who gave us the music from Battlestar. He gave us the music from The Walking Dead. It's great. It's going to be great. It's funny. Gladriel looks exactly like a cosplayer I used to work with that I don't talk to anymore. So that's kind of weird. And Kelly, it was funny when I was watching it, I told you, I said, I read a headline that whoever designed one of her costumes was specifically quoted as saying, I made it so cosplayers would be stumped. And you said, that is bullshit. Who would do such a thing?
Stumped? No one could ever make this.
Exactly.
Why?
Just to be so far up your own ass you can lick your tonsils. I don't know. But yeah, that was the one annoying headline I found. But yeah, this is extraordinarily controversial. It's being review bombed all over the place on Amazon because it's Nerd Rage Central, and it just makes me scratch my head because, again, as we were saying in take one, this is Kelly, you were saying this entire thing is really based on like a paragraph about, and then this thing happened. So it's practically, it's set 1,000 years beforehand. It's practically its own IP in a lot of different ways because it's not, Tolkien's dead and so are all his grandchildren. I don't know. Nobody who's writing this is there anybody who's writing this who's attached to anything? Peter Jackson's not involved, and because obviously the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit, which was fun. I was listening to on the Weekly Planet, one of their side podcasts is the Caravan of Garbage. They were just tearing up The Hobbit today. Oh, I didn't really care for those films. Smoke, baby.
They were not good.
A 100-page book turned into 3 8-hour-long movies.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody asked for that. Nobody asked.
It's definitely what Lando had for breakfast kind of situation.
Exactly. How did Bilbo get his cape? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll find out.
So what it feels like. So what the Rings of Power feels like to me, just based on, I wasn't even really informed going into it. It's like, it's based on this itsy bitsy teeny weeny little thing, so to speak. Is that it's like it's fresh ground. It's an IP. It's new IP. So that's totally fine. I totally dig it. I'm here the same way I am with. It's a very similar situation with the House of the Dragon, because again, it's not being written by Martin. It's based on characters. It's 1,200 years. It's a lot of years beforehand, and it's just awesome. So even though maybe I'm unencumbered by like, well, it's not burr and fantasy, this thing and that thing and blah blah blah. I'm just enjoying it because it's like, ooh, it's so pretty and. The girl and the girl's got pretty hair, and they got the ships and everything. It's this and that, and there's a dragon.
Armor is shiny.
I know it's very jingly keys, and my ADD is satisfied. So yes,
they killed a ice ogre. That was cool.
What? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I dug it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy because, it's just, this is what we're going to do to our IP. We're going to expand them. We're going to make them, so they live forever. We can we can keep renewing things. Prequels, you like the prequels? Here you go. But do it like so far in advance that you could just do your own thing. You don't have to make fans upset, apparently, but they'll still get upset with like Game of Thrones. I enjoyed it. I thought it was beautiful. And it's doing its own thing. And hopefully it stays good. If it's crappy, it's crap. But if this
Right.
seems to be well loved and the people behind it seem to care for it, so that's good.
And they're
Right.
smart setting it so far in the past that they don't have to wait for George R.R. Martin to finish any books.
He'll
Thank
be
God.
dead first. Oh my God. You know what? And as opposed to, Star Wars is going to try the same thing with KOTOR, but they'll screw it up by, and here's Yoda's third cousin, or here's Yoda's grandfather. You're going to find some way to fuck it up. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
It's happening. It's happening. So
We're
yeah.
going. No, there'll be a past rebellion for the rebellion.
Oh,
The-
no. It's
the-
not even going
the-
to be Yoda. It's going to be a past Skywalker. You know it's going to be. And they're going to muck everything up.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's going to be Anakin's great grandfather's cousin's college roommate. Todd, what do you got?
It's the Star Wars sex romp I always wanted. Oh well, moving
You
on.
got it. All right.
Yes. Yeah. So for me, we already debated this in the previous recording, but Bullet Train. Charlie and I don't see eye to eye in this. I actually enjoyed this movie quite a bit. I thought that was John Wick with a sense of humor. Lots of goofy characters. This reminded me of like those movies you got like in the early 2000s with like everyone was trying to be Quentin Tarantino, where you would introduce all these wacky characters. You'd have, the storytelling would be all over the map. You would have like introduced characters. You would tell more about them later, which this did. This movie, I think, did the action very well. The sense of humor and the through line was, it kind of revealed itself through it on. And I said, this was like if there was an X-Men movie with Longshot, this is what it would be. Longshot was a character that had immense luck. Well, it was the opposite with Brad Pitt. He had bad luck, and it was kind of funny how it played out. And by the way, Bad Bunny's in this. So Bad Bunny, check out Bad Bunny. And, oh my God, Aaron Taylor Johnson, that dude is a hunk. Wow, he can wear a suit.
They really threw that one off for me. I keep trying to show you guys. There we go. Can't have an episode without a cat.
That's what
There
you're doing.
you go.
That's what you're interrupting Bullet Train with a cat.
I know. I needed some kind of a distraction.
Okay, folks,
See,
if you watch YouTube, you'll
like
see a
it.
cat. But we're gonna move on from the cat. But I was gonna say, if you want, and I saw this at $3 cinema weekend or whatever it was, where every movie was $3. I thoroughly got my $3 out of this movie. If you like action movies, I think you'll enjoy what they brought forward. It's not for everybody. Totally get that, but check it out if you can. But then something I think is for a lot of people that love geeky things and superheroes, that's Stargirl. Season 3 just came out, episode 1. It's fantastic. I really love the show. If you love Heritage DC with the Justice Society of America, the Jeff Johns books, those type of things, brought into a modern sensibility with young, cool, and very engaging young characters as heroes. It's great. I really love this show. I think it's for everybody. It outdoes every other CW Arrowverse show, in my opinion. Maybe Legends of Tomorrow, that is probably equivalent to this, but I just really love it. So check it out. It's on the CW app. It's on HBO Max. Check it out while it exists, because Kelly, you're absolutely right. DC, the way we're going with Discovery Warner, who knows what's going to happen, and I hope this gets a 4th season.
And you're going to screw it right into the ground to be watching nothing but
Discovery.
The budget will be like stick puppets, and there'll be like no CGI or anything.
Okay, so the CW has been sold to someone else, and Discovery
Nexstar, which just sounds like a bad cable box.
Yeah. And then Discovery's plan is to merge HBO Max with their Discovery streaming service and basically make it all reality shows, because they want to court women viewers only, and that's all women want to watch, apparently.
Yeah, they had that weird, and Charlie, you may not have seen this, but they basically said HBO Max, men, these type of stories, Discovery thing. It's women with drama.
I did hear about this. Yeah. Boys like this and girls like that. I did hear this very Dick and Jane, very kindergarten cop, boys have a penis and girls have a vagina kind of explanation.
It is the year of our Lord 2022. I thought we got past that. We're no longer labeling girl toys and boy toys in toy stores, but now we're labeling TV shows by men and women.
Are you a 90-Day Fiancé type of person, or are you a what would be another good show? Sopranos person? I guess that's all we got. You're like one
guess
or the
so.
other. That's can't like the both.
If I had to choose, it would definitely be Sopranos
Oh,
because
absolutely.
Most sane
reality
people
show,
would.
no. Mm-mm.
Yes.
Never.
Well, that is it for the Geek Easy. You know what? When we record this the second time,
Wait, are we still rolling? Oh,
yeah,
good. I
we're
see
still
the numbers
recording.
moving.
Yes. Thank you, Zencaster, for not reminding me. But you know what? It was a fun ride. We made it a little bit more streamlined, less arguing, which is always good for the audience. So with that, we are now ready to go to the land down under where the mutants quake and the women chunder. That's the Thunderdome.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome!
Thank you, Tina. We're sitting in the Thunderdome where the mutants have been gathered for a topic or a game to be entertained. And this week, we're doing a little bit of comic book history. And we are so excited because Kelly really digs comic book history, which I will be honest, I don't love a lot of old comics. And Charlie loves a lot of old comics, but he only goes back so far. So Kelly, once Charlie brought this that you were going to be on talk about comics, Charlie basically let's have you pick some comics, we'll read them, and then you give us a little bit of the context for these comics. So with that, take it away.
All right. So I will say I don't particularly love reading old comics as much as I love talking about the historical context in which they existed. Reading them is just kind of funny because
I kept sharing all of the screen grabs I was reading these. I'm like, would you? Yeah, like look at the Red Skull. He was like, I wonder if he's in the Girl Scouts with that outfit, big old swastika on his green jumpsuit. Wow, there's an easy cosplay for you. Knock it out.
I mean, I would not recommend wearing that anywhere. I feel like
a jumpsuit and a bad mask. Yeah, I totally agree. So,
well, I'm thinking more the Nazi symbol would probably
that's gone out of fashion since the 40s. We all know that. Yeah. So as we talk about this, what got you into your love of the history of comics? Obviously, the comics themselves are of a time. It's kind of like watching old movies, reading old books, those type of things. But what got you into the history of comics?
So I'm kind of a history nerd anyways, and obviously a comic nerd. And then a few years ago, I can't remember how long it was, but so there was this free online course offered to anyone who wanted to take it. Gail Simone was one of the people who taught it. So obviously creds.
That's
and
amazing.
It was about gender and comics. And it really did a deep dive into how comics have kind of shaped how our society views gender. And then I really started doing more digging. And so comics, superhero comics are a uniquely American art form, kind of like jazz and rock and roll. And so like those other uniquely American art forms, they have helped shape the society that gave birth to them and vice versa. And because I'm a comic nerd anyways, I'm really fascinated by just that interplay of like seeing the impact where society changes how comic stories are told and where comic stories actually have an impact on society. I'm also a writer myself, so I'm always interested in how a story can change a society and can change a person. So the next weekend at SilCon, I am going to be giving I'm going to be doing a panel with my friend Brian Morris on. I had to narrow it down because you can't do all of comics history, comics and U.S. history in 1 hour. So I narrowed it down to World War II, which even that is going to be hard to condense to an hour because World War II is really when it's the golden age of comics. It's really when comics became what they are. It's when they got their boom. They really helped shape World War II in some ways, how our country dealt with World War II. And that is fascinating to me.
Wow.
So to talk about the first comic that I made you guys read, Captain America #1, I have some interesting backstory about this one particularly. So this came out in December before Pearl Harbor, so almost a year before the Pearl Harbor attack. And you have Captain America on the cover punching Hitler. Because the creators of Captain America were both Jewish men who were like watching what was happening in Europe, and they're like, okay, this is not right. Why aren't we as Americans engaging in this war? So they specifically made the choice to make a political statement with that comic cover, which is pretty ballsy.
Very ballsy. Yeah.
Yeah. And they got threats. They got a lot of threats to their office. So there was one time when some guys showed up and called up to the office. Jack Kirby was in the office, and they called up and they're like, hey, we want to meet the creator of Captain America. We want to show him what they were like Nazi sympathizers. They're like, we want to show him what Nazis will do to your Captain America. So to the horror of everyone in the office, Jack Kirby just rolled up his sleeves and went downstairs to square up with the guys.
Oh my God.
They were gone by the time Jack got down there, but he was totally ready to like square off with some Nazis. And then he actually did go to war. Like, Jack Kirby was a badass. Certifiable badass. So
I was going to say, and I've talked about this with Charlie before, there's a series on the Roku channel, which Charlie jokes about, but it's called Slugfest. And it is essentially very short episodes of different stories within comics. And this is one of those. It's all talking about that. It's Brandon Ruth plays Joe Simon or Jack Kirby. And it's funny because it's basically, it's a dramatization of a real story. And they talked about like the cops of New York were standing up with them as they put this out there. So I highly recommend that because I think it's awesome because everything you said exactly is right. And this is kind of cool. And the fact is the comic you recommended, the cover, once again, with comics what happens on the cover doesn't actually happen in the comic.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And I promise to tell you why.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So not many superheroes engaged directly in the war. Captain America was the rare exception that his comics did center around him fighting in the war, but they didn't necessarily have him engaging with Hitler because there were actual real humans fighting that war.
Yeah.
So to have a comic book superhero, especially when it comes to Captain America is one thing, but to jump to another company, when it comes to like Superman, if Superman were to go over there, realistically, he would end the war. Mm-hmm. And that's really insulting to the troops to have a fantasy story where this horrible war where people are dying, people are seeing their friends killed, they're seeing so much death and destruction. It's really depressing to have a story where it's like, oh, the superhero ended the war in this story. That doesn't bring them comfort. It doesn't bring them the escape. So, yes, you can have Captain America punching Hitler on the cover, but if you write a story where Captain America goes toe-to-toe with Hitler, then, Captain America has to win. And then the war's over.
Right.
And
it's like Homelander says when he talks to like the police, you're the real hero, and Homelander's obviously biting his teeth, and he's like, actually that's not true, but you're absolutely right. We don't want to undermine the efforts of the people actually fighting the war. That makes a lot of sense because I made a joke. I'm like, oh, Steve Rogers' biggest regret, never got to kill Hitler.
Yep. I mean, I feel that.
Yeah.
How many people have fantasized about going back in time and killing Hitler?
Yeah.
Nick Fury, don't forget that cover of Fantastic Four.
That's true.
Yeah.
But so now this comic was interesting because it was essentially like 4 individual stories inside of it.
Right.
Plus some odd, let's put it this way. I did not read the background material like with the hurricane and all these other like I guess what timely comics heroes that never saw the light of day. So I'm waiting for the hurricane to make his return.
I skimmed over the one too that was the little like the home and garden like little written article like here's a little column about a guy that poisoned the soup. That was
it was like literally just prose. Like we don't want to bother with making art for this, but we have to fill a page.
Here's a story about a mobster trying to poison, Camp Lehigh or whatever.
10 cents got you a lot of comic back in the day. They made their money.
Well, like I said, and Kelly, you had us read
quality.
All-Star Comics, but you gave us the wrong issue number. So I'm like, all right, 66 pages. What the fuck is going on?
My procrastination paid off though, because I didn't.
Because
I don't even
in that
know where
issue,
I got that number from. I'm
it
sorry.
was the Mind Wave, and it was the Justice Society, and he shranked on everybody except for Wonder Woman because she went back home to because she was the secretary. That's not sexist. She went home to check her notes, and so she wasn't there when all the men got shrunk down. So I'm just like, is the reason she has us reading this going to pay off because she's going to come back in the final act and like rip Mind Wave in half? And then she said, "Oh, that was the wrong issue," and I'm like, I don't really even care to see how this ends because it just. Every one of them had to take on a separate thing, and one of them was stuck in a birdcage.
Okay, I'm going to pause and say, moving on to the next comic you selected, Kelly. Why did you select the next comic?
Okay, so Action Comics number 8. It is 8.
All-Star Comics. You said
All-Star Comics. Oh my gosh. Starts with an A. It has been a week. Okay. All-Star Comics. Last week. I'm still recovering from last week.
Nope, go ahead. We got it.
Sorry. All-Star Comics number 8 is the very introduction of Wonder Woman. Now, obviously, like you said, you get a lot of comics, so she doesn't come in until the very end. And it's interesting because Wonder Woman's story still ties into World War II, even though she comes from Paradise Island. But she's wearing the American color, or American red, white, and blue. And she does that because Steve Trevor, an American fighter pilot, crash lands on her island. And he's got a really important mission that her mom, Hippolyta, looks into, what is it, the sphere of destiny or
Platter
something?
of time.
Yeah, it was a corset. It was a corset.
No. Charlie, she could look
wheel,
at
the
time.
Wheel of Destiny.
No,
but she had the corset.
Yeah, no,
The
it was the
corset
girdle.
what Hercules
The girdle.
The girdle was what Hercules took from her.
Yeah, so she had
right.
the vision portal that she could look through things through time. And then,
is that like a vision board with all the hipster kids?
Yes.
From Pinterest, yes. Oh, yes.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Those Amazons were ahead of time, so they had vision boards and Pinterest way before we did.
But apparently an Air Force and all these things. But to your point, it's like that was because, I think that you're going down that road of this came out in 1942. This comic was kind of crazy because it was a Justice Society comic with like 85 different heroes. They all had their stories. They gave you no information about the characters. It's like, I don't know what they do, their special powers, why they're doing it. It's very weird. They fought odd guys with like they wanted to break a bus union. It just didn't make any sense. I'm like, what are they doing? And apparently there's this evil scientist that made people crazy. And I'm like, and they were telling it in 10 pages each, but it was like 85 panels of just packed dialogue. And I'm like,
I was going to say, and they produced the entire thing in less than a week.
Yes.
Why it didn't make any sense. Well, and I don't know if you noticed, but the last story was written by Charles Moulton.
Yes.
And not written, whereas the rest of the stories were written by Gardner Fox. So Charles Moulton was William Moulton Marston's pen name after the middle name of his editor, and then Moulton is actually his mom's maiden name. But he insisted that he write Wonder Woman's introduction when he pitched her. Whereas otherwise, since it was a Justice Society All-Star Comics, Gardner Fox should have written that story. But he was like, nope, this is my baby. I'm writing her. And then, of course, that led into Sensation Comics, which continued the Wonder Woman story and showed her like venturing into man's world.
Right.
Taking on the role of a nerd.
She was so delightfully sassy. They're like, hey, what happened here? She's like, well, maybe I'll come back and tell you about it sometime. Goodbye.
It was very quirky.
She was so quippy. It was like she was a super-powered quip machine.
She was Mary Tyler Moore of the time.
And she threw her lasso in the air. Oh my gosh.
Maybe you'll
love
catch me on a kids quiz show.
But
There you go.
they abandoned that they allowed this female character because there was no female characters in any of these characters. And the fact that it's like, yep, she wrecks house, she's faster, she beats the crap out of them, and she's a match is just phenomenal at the time,
It is
considering
phenomenal.
it's in the 40s.
Well, she was not the very first female superhero.
Okay.
There were others, but yes, she was one of the first. And that is phenomenal. And the fact that William Moulton Marston pitched her and basically said, I want to use her to educate about feminist ideals. And they were like, okay, sure.
It's crazy.
I have a hard time seeing someone walking into DC or Marvel Comics today with a pitch like that and getting away with it. Like,
yeah.
Especially if you bring up girdle as a sign of power.
that sounds awful.
It was so
Sure.
weird. It's like the girdle. This is the girdle that I have power with. And I'm like, that was an interesting take on something. Not like a helm or like the fleece of power. It was the girdle. I'm like,
Girdle of powder.
does that have a
That's
different
like-
meaning in the 40s than it does now?
I think that's just her corset.
Okay.
But still, yeah, that's like as feminine as you could possibly get.
Exactly. It's like, this
Oh,
is
no,
our
wait.
undergarments.
It's her belt. It's her belt. It's
Oh,
that
really? Okay. I
gold
thought it was
belt.
like I couldn't figure out. I'm like, and then they were in prison. Then there was like, obviously, I think you even mentioned, Kelly, like, yeah, there's a lot of like BDSM, like undertones, bondage, Hercules bonds them. Very weird.
Well, here's another thing about Marston that's a little saucy. He really, really believed that the ideal was loving submission. So submission to a higher authority with erotic undertones, even in situations that you weren't necessarily having sex with the person. And he really believed that was the ideal for society, that if everyone just got a little okay with submitting to higher authority or to people who had authority over them and having erotic undertones. So you see that in all the Wonder Woman comics that he wrote. You see that.
A lot of rope, the lasso
The rope,
of
yes.
truth being
The rope-
submitting.
I think
yeah.
we could call this episode either the man trap or rope and sass.
Rope and sass. Yeah.
Or just loving submission.
Well, any like closing thoughts on kind of like where this has led you? I mean, obviously, there's a lot of great comic book history. Where you go next is obviously is up, definitely up to you. But I definitely recommend, like I said, that Roku series Slugfest is fantastic for just snippets of great stories. But yeah, there's so many good stories in the world of comics that people just don't know about.
Well, so I'll pimp out my TikTok because I'm starting to do something with my random comics history knowledge. I'm doing little short TikTok videos.
We're super duper working on that. We were just talking about
I'm
it
doing my
tonight.
dance because that's what you're supposed to do, right? You do a dance, you have a topic that comes overhead, and then you go, and you point, and you do a dance, right?
Literally, that is what my wife is doing to promote her business right now, so don't make fun of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not dancing in those videos.
No.
Cats don't dance.
I want to see Todd do his Todd dance. I remember Todd's dancing.
Yes, do some dancing.
You know what?
Todd, this is you.
My song is my dance. There we go.
Yes.
Oh, well, this has been fantastic. Thank you, Kelly, for being a great guest. And before we leave, tell people how they can find you around the interwebs.
All right, so KellyGuentner.com. That's KellyGuentner, double N's, is the best place. Otherwise, Phoenix Sisters cosplay everywhere. Cosplay Cafe. Except I'm not on Twitter
Your show
yet.
is on every Friday, is it? Or every other Friday?
The first and third Friday of every month, so pretty much
First
every
and-
other.
And I watched it. April and I watched it when we were on vacation. We were sitting in front of a TV with YouTube, and I was there typing my name, and you're like, "Hey, Charlie!" I was like, "Woo!" I was very excited. It was fun. It was a fun show, and you had our mutual friend Jen Watson on. She's a great cosplayer. So I love your stuff. You got good stuff going on.
Thank you.
Well,
And
very
we're
good.
going to connect with you to get you on.
Ooh.
That's
Sounds like fun. I
happening.
don't know how I can do the cosplay walk in this room, but I'll figure something out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, give yourself some room, Charlie. Yeah, need some
Okay,
strutting
I-
room. Oh well.
I got it.
Well, very, very good. This has been awesome. Yeah, follow Kelly, everybody. This is great. If you have questions about cosplay and all that world, definitely check out Kelly. And of course, Charlie's here too.
You'll end up finding her over on Twitter, Kelly at the Man Trap, or at
Oh my
Kelly
gosh.
Man Trap. No, you won't. No, you won't.
Please don't, because that will probably
Please
bring
don't.
bad results. So we do
That
not
will
want
be
you to do that.
Not so
Charlie
good.
will
Todd,
gladly take that as a secondary Twitter, though.
Sure, why not? Todd, where do people find you out there on the webs of Intra?
They can follow me at T Oxtra, where I am trying to reach out, get some hints on my fantasy football league, and having good times in the world of video games and other things I love. So check us out there at Secret Friends U as well on Twitter and also on YouTube. Secret Friends Unite. We're doing awesome things. See our faces in more places.
Good. Wow, good catch. You can find me over on Twitter at the C3. Spell it out. That's actually my universal. I'm over also obviously on Instagram, TikTok, sort of thinking about it. Yeah, you got it. My wife April and I do run the USS Grand Petoskey. That is the Michigan chapter of the International Star Trek fan club, one of the biggest ones in the world. You can find us at that website and then across socials at that name. I also try to fill up our Secret Friends Unite Facebook communities with news when I can, trying to make sure I get good sources because Todd calls me on it if I report some, we got this covered. So I'm trying to do a better job all the time. But that's me. Friends, as always, thank you for joining us. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring and to keep on trucking.
Be the hero, not the villain.
In a truck.
I need a girdle of power.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow at Secret Friends U on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.